everyone, it's Christian. In this screencast, I want to give you an overview of a pairLab experiment. Now, a pairLab experiment is a suite of tools that show you how people prioritize ideas. And by prioritize, I mean two things. First, how a group of people, or even segments of that group, rank order ideas from their most favorite to their least. And secondly, by how much they prefer each of those ideas over the others. You might ask, well, why do we need both? Why not just find out the rank order? Because that in itself is pretty good. Well, it turns out that knowing both preference and passion help us to make better decisions. I'll give you an example. Let's say we're planning the annual holiday office lunch. I know from running my pairLab experiment that the top three choices are Indian food, Chinese food, and pizza. Well, how do I make a decision between the top three there? Do I pick number one? Would number two be okay? I like pizza. Maybe I'll pick pizza. Well, if I know that the group prefers Indian food twice as much as they prefer Chinese food, well, that's a no-brainer. I'm going to pick Indian food because otherwise I'll probably make some people upset. But if I find out that they prefer Indian food over Chinese food by only 10%, well, then I can pick either one without regret. So knowing passion behind priority helps me make better choices. Now, we'll look quickly now at each of the three tools that together make up a pairLab experiment. In other screencasts, I'll go into detail in each one. We start on the My Experiments page, which is the launch page for experiments. Here we see a list of the experiments we've created, the date we created them, whether they're currently open or closed to survey participants, and links to access each of the tools within the experiment. And we can also create a new survey, which is the first step in creating a new experiment. So let's take a look at each of the operations within the experiment, and I'll start by clicking on the survey link. This is the survey page, where we set up the question and the ideas we want to test. It has several parts, all of which help to create the survey that tests our ideas. We have the question we want to test. Below it are some status indicators. And then we have messaging. And this messaging is shown to survey participants at the beginning and the end of the survey. Below that, we have our demographic segments, which these demographic segments allow us to see and compare results for specific subgroups of participants. And below that, we have our idea queues. So these are the ideas that are being tested and the ones that are crowdsourced from participants that we can feed back into the survey for additional testing. Now, crowdsourced ideas, and those are the ones here in the suggestions queue, are important because as the survey owner, we may not know every possible idea to test. And here, our participants are telling us what we don't know. We can then feed those back for further testing into the active ideas queue. On the check data page is where we look for problems in the responses from our survey participants to be sure that we are producing accurate results. And on this page, we have some indicators that help us decide whether to include or exclude the participants, which we can do by clicking the Toggle Analyze button down below. Then we get into results. The results pages show us data in real time. They start with the summary page, which shows us the health of our experiment. We can also see the comments that came in from survey participants and several ways to visualize how our survey participants prioritize idea, even looking at them by segments, printing them, downloading a chart, and looking at them in a table format. And that's the overview of a pairLab experiment.